So I'm here in front of the SDG tent in Davos. The World Economic Forum's annual meeting has just wrapped up. It's the last day. People are leaving. Even the tent itself is being packed up as we speak. And in fact, this is one Davos. And one thing you'll hear from participants at this event every year is there are actually many Davoses. You can have all kinds of different experiences at the World Economic Forum's annual meeting. There are people who come here just to do business deals and who stay in chalets and attend certain private meetings, and that's it. That's their experience. And there are many, many other experiences like that. What's a little bit different this year is the SDGs and this concept of stakeholder capitalism, and especially emphasis on climate, has started to permeate every one of those many Davoses. It has become a unifying theme across the board. And in some ways, as I've talked to participants and asked them what they think of this year and how to sum it up for the Devex audience, many of them have said this is a really inspiring thing, that there's real progress, that we're seeing that the direction of travel is clear for all participants in this event, and that's exciting. On the other hand, almost everyone I've spoken to has also felt that there's something incongruous about this year's World Economic Forum. That we're talking about issues like climate, we're talking about issues like immigration and hunger, and we're not necessarily seeing the action that would reflect the urgency that's in the data. And so we've had leaders here saying good things and even announcing important initiatives, but we've also had people like Greta Thunberg, people like the Extinction Rebellion had an executive here. We had people like Hindu Ibrahim, an environmental activist from Lake Chad. Many people who are trying to remind the participants here at the World Economic Forum that actually there's no time to wait, and we don't need iterative change. We need more of a revolution. We need fundamental structural change, and not tomorrow, we need it now. So it's been an interesting year, and I've gone and surveyed lots of professionals and leaders who are here this year to ask them this question. It's been pretty consistent that there's a sense that this Davos is just a little bit different, that people feel a little bit unsettled as they think of the grand challenges ahead of us. And even with all the potential that's always talked about here, artificial intelligence and unmanned aerial vehicles and all the many new technologies and approaches, that we're not quite there. And maybe emblematic of that, this year in particular, was the emergence of the coronavirus during this Davos. And so in the global health community, many of the leaders who were here were suddenly scrambling to try to address that issue, getting their organizations with their significant resources involved quickly and urgently. But that too underscored the fact that at the global level, we don't yet have, even years after Ebola, a very straightforward approach to addressing a pandemic threat like the coronavirus. So there's a sense that we're missing something at the top. We're missing some of the connective tissue to actually make the significant progress required, even though leaders are saying the right things and maybe even believing the right things. We did see some real movement in global health this year. There's been a lot of talk about UNICEF and the World Food Program getting together around a combined protocol for acute and moderate malnutrition. This could have really significant impact on saving the lives of many children around the world. And it's something that's been brewing for a while, but at a place like Davos, when many leaders are together, I'm hearing more and more conversation about that. There have been a lot of discussions, including one that we hosted with MSD for Mothers, about the health financing gap. And the gap that's been around and discussed for a while, but that there's real progress toward closing that. The Johnson & Johnson company came out with an announcement of a $250 million investment into health workforce over the next 10 years. There's been a lot of discussion about this year, 2020, as the year of the nurse and the midwife and what that means for the global health community. So it's not as though there hasn't been real progress this year. In fact, there are many, many announcements that are made here every year, and a lot of them are truly impressive. But there is a sense that it's not quite all stitching together. One executive I spoke to said he went from sipping champagne at one party to sitting in a fire circle talking with the Extinction Rebellion leaders, and that incongruous nature of Davos really struck him in particular. And even walking around the streets, as you can see, I've been coming to this event for several years now, the least snow that we've ever seen, and you can see it in the hills as well. Many people have commented on it as a sense that, thinking of the Australian wildfires and all the examples of climate change around us, that even this small example right here in this little ski town has kind of hit participants who've been coming to this for many years and made it seem very personal, that the sense of urgency has struck a lot of people as a result. Again, I've spoken to many, many leaders here and probably pestered them with this question for the purposes of bringing it to you, our audience at Devex. What does this really mean? And are we really making significant progress? And to sum it up, I would say the sense is that the direction of travel is right, that we seem to be headed in the right general direction. The corporate community, the investment community, this idea that climate and SDGs have to be taken into account in every activity, but that the speed of travel may be off, that we may not be moving with the urgency that's truly required in the world today. These are complex issues and tough to sum up, but that's the sense from here in Davos, and we appreciate the Devex team that's worked really hard to bring all the coverage this week to all of you and all the feedback we've gotten from our community around the world. Thanks for staying tuned.